name is Richard Yu. I'm a Senior Director of Product Management at Edgio. My day-to-day functions is to develop some of the world-leading security as well as web performance products in the market space. So the solutions that I'm in charge of building include web application firewall, next-generation bot solutions, DDoS protection, as well as encryption services. Over the past 10 years, I've had the honor of working with hundreds of organizations across the world to build world-class web applications and API, as well as to implement security as well as performance optimizations for those institutions. Let's start from the risk. Right, there's been a massively increased risk, in surface areas, in today's finance landscapes. We're talking about everly increasing 0 days vulnerability that's being exposed, and there's also an increase in the financial and economical risks from any cyber attack. So we're talking about $6 trillion of economy loss, last year alone. And a lot of these attacks are targeting financial institutions because obviously most of the cyber attacks are financially motivated. So the financial sector is obviously a big target for the attackers. So we see that there's only going to be an increase in the attack that's coming towards the financial service as this industry grow. And there's going to be ever increasing needs for the various types of securities solutions that needs to be implemented by various CISO organizations across all of the financial service sectors. When it comes to 0 days incidents, right, the most important thing to consider is speed. The speed to dealing with 0 days incidents is one of the most important factors. So when it comes to security in general, organizations need to implement security in 3 areas: the preventions of security, like vulnerability, the detections, as well as the response of the attack. So when 0 days happens, you can safely assume that the prevention's out of door because you're actively dealing with an exploit towards a vulnerability that just got disclosed, right? So when that happens, right, you can also make sure that you need to have data as well as the ability to detect any of the attack, right? So when it comes to having the ability to detect, right, data is king. Having the visibility allows you to gauge whether a 0 days event it's a threat which poses risk to your organizations. It's also very important to consider the capability, the process, as well as the solutions, right, to quickly respond to a 0 days vulnerability or 0 days exploit. So you need to make sure that there's a full visibility within your organizations towards the threat, as well as having the ability to quickly react to any 0 days incidents, because those 0 days vulnerabilities are only increasing the exponential pace in the industries. So when it comes to fraud preventions, it's important to know that within the financial service space, right, most of the fraud are committed in automated fashions. To just kind of throw you guys some data, more than 40% of internet traffic today are actually automated. They're done by bot, right? So especially when you have a financial service applications, properties like online banking or payment applications, right, you're going to be attacked by a lot of automated traffic. Let's say attacker basically generating bogus traffic to try to steal an account or to actually try to take over a particular credentials, steal any sort of information from your users. So it's very, very important to have the capability to be able to detect abnormal behaviors, especially online behaviors, right? Abnormality in traffic towards your website, to ensure that you have the ability to mitigate those traffics so that only a proper user is able to access your financial service applications. So one of the good examples of the solutions would be to implement advanced bot mitigations solutions. You should ideally implement an advanced bot mitigation solution that utilize machine learning, either unsupervised or supervised machine learning, ideally a combination of both, right? To be able to detect abnormal traffics and behavior that's sort of an outliers, right, to what a normal user's behavior should be, and then have a way to effectively mitigate them, not just in form of blocking, but also potentially serving CAPTCHAs or like serving alternative response to those traffic to ensure that those automated traffic that's usually fraudulent do not reach your infrastructures and compromise the integrity of your actual applications as well as your user experience. First of all, Edgio is one of the largest platforms in the world, not just from a security perspective, but also from a content delivery network perspective. Edgio has 250 terabits per second of network egress capability across more than 300 point of presence, or we call it POPs, globally. So in every region, so we ensure lowest amount of latency between our point of presence to all of the major metropolitan areas. So we're talking about tens of milliseconds between our servers and the end user. So any properties, any web properties, any applications that utilizes Edgio platform would enable them to actually have the most optimal performance towards their end users, right? So about being as close to the end user as possible and really shipping those content, especially rich content, like we're talking about videos, images, any of interactive sites, as close to the end user as possible, because the users are impatient nowadays, even for financial service, right? Given with more and more competitions around the space, it's paramount that all of the operators of the websites or the applications are able to maintain the optimal performance for all of their end users. Modern content delivery network utilizes a lot of technology. Gone are the days where we were just doing caching, right? Caching is a bare minimum for a content delivery network. We're so talking about additional optimizations. First and foremost, from a network perspective, a modern content delivery network should at very minimum, right, reduce the number of connections, consolidate the number of connections towards our customers' infrastructures, right? There should also be a routing optimizations. However, what sets a modern content delivery network apart, right, compared to a traditional network, it's also the application level performance optimization. So from a technical terms perspective, we're talking about layer 7 performance optimizations. This would include advanced stuff like predictive prefetching. So for example, using machine learning to detect what would be the next move for end user and proactively downloads the next content, the next page before the end user click on a content, so that when the end users click on a content, it loads instantly. So this allows our network to achieve instant page load time to optimize the performance. There's also various other advancements. So for example, a good content delivery network should not just improve the performance for your user experience, but also improve your velocity of your developers coming up with apps. So for example, it should have the capability and the integrations to allow developers to manage the CDN like a code, right, to actually minimize the amount of non-functional requirements that the developer has to go through in order to release their new applications, a new website or code to the internet. We are a company that spans across multiple verticals, right? We do business in retail, travel, hospitality, but one of the key financial verticals that we're focusing on is a financial services vertical, FSI. So it's very important for us to be able to take part in an event like this to get to know our audience, right? Because most of the participations here would be our customers, or they're working very closely with our customers, right? It's very important for our company to actually be on the ground in the field, to interact with those customers, to understand the customer's need. As Edgio, we always say Edgio culture, that the first culture we talk about in Edgio is to be client obsessed. We want to be obsessed with our customer. We want to be obsessed with what our customer needs as well as industry needs. And FinTech Connect is an event that really truly allows us to have a more focused or intimate discussions and communications with our target audience to truly understand what's going on in the industry, as well as for our organization to learn what is the latest trend as well as innovations in the financial service industry, especially in the APAC regions, which is obviously growing in a very fast pace as more and more financial institutions are modernizing and creating a new online platforms.